Hello, what's up everyone? It's me again. You guys remember that I still have a YouTube channel? um, yeah, that was the best intro I could think of. Uh, anyway, welcome to the video. In this video, I'm going to be presenting my thoughts on Path of Exile 3.25 as an SSF player. For those of you who don't know, I basically only play SSF, and in this video I'm going to present like my condensed thoughts on the new league and just point out some of the major changes and things I thought were interesting. There's a lot of words in this patch note, so probably not going to be able to get to everything, but yeah, I'll just like share some of my thoughts in case any of y'all are interested. This is not like a live reaction or a live patch note reading or anything. If you guys want to see like my live reaction to the new content or the first time I saw the patch notes, you can check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/smokey_777. But in this video, it's going to be like a condensed video where I just put my condensed thoughts. So yeah, that being said, I think the new league, Settlers of Kalguur, looks pretty interesting. It looks kind of fun. It looks like it's gonna be like a stupid kind of fun. My first impression was like, this is a pay-to-win mobile game. Like, it reminds me. Oh, I don't really play mobile games, but the systems, like the automated map running and like upgrading buildings, kind of reminds me of like what you would see in a pay-to-win mobile game. You know, how you can like pay $5 to like instantly upgrade your plot, or $4.99 or whatever. But it seems kind of interesting. I'd never have imagined there would be a Path of Exile mechanic like this. Looks really complicated, but it also seems like it'll be a lot of fun, so that's great. However, there weren't really any new skills, which I thought was kind of sad, except for retaliation skills. Maybe someone will find the retaliation skills fascinating, but I was kind of hoping for there to be like some new skills, or like some new melee skills, or some kind of like rework on the currently existing skills, but whatever. So yeah, I think the new league will be kind of interesting. Yeah. Moving on to the next big thing, I think, is Gladiator. Gladiator got reworked pretty substantially. You can see the ascendancy for yourself, but the main idea is you get a little more block, you get a little more damage, and you can access the bleed explode node, like right here, which is like previously you needed 4 points and now you have it in 2. And the bleeding also got rescaled from 10% to 20% explosion damage, which is good. However, the node lost the 20% damage thing. Like previously, this node had 20% more damage with bleeding, but you don't have that anymore, which is kind of sad. But the damage on Gladiator basically got moved to this node, which is kind of an interesting node. So every second you're in the vicinity of a rare or a unique enemy, you'll get 1% more damage. I think this is interesting because it has like 2 applications in my mind. The first being, league starting. Like if your build is weak, aka at league start, this is gonna be huge value, because if your build sucks, it takes you a long time to kill stuff, and then you're gonna get more damage to compensate for how sucky your build is. So that's good. It's kind of an interesting node. And also, of course, it'll be good for bossing. The more time you spend next to a boss, the more damage you'll deal. So I think Gladiator could be like good for league starting because of this mechanic, where like you deal more damage the longer the fight goes on. So like the less damage you have, the more damage you get. So I think that's kind of interesting. However, I think Gladiator does still have some problems. The main problems being, first of all, that there's no way to get increased max block, and block only goes to 75. So not being able to get easy sources of max block on the ascendancy is kind of bad, especially if you're going to take versatile combatant, which would then reduce your maximum block to 60%, or 65, and then you can like increase it with nodes in the tree to like 70, but it's like very difficult to get it above 70 without like very specific itemizations. And I would assume that if you do go block, you do go versatile combatant, because versatile combatant is like, if you're already going block, it's a pretty efficient way to get like protection against spells. So yeah. So basically, I think the lack of ways to increase max block is kind of a weakness. In addition, you still need a lot of points to get max block. Here you can see all the nodes. They did slightly like increase the values of the block nodes here. So like you get a little bit more block from the nodes in the tree, but it's still a very small amount, like 4% for a small node. This one's 12%, which is great, but this one's still 8%, you know, it's like 4% and 4%, you know, so this one's like 10%, 3%, 3%. So they did slightly improve the amount of block you get from the nodes, but it's still not enough in my opinion. You still need a lot of nodes just to get block. And I'm not sure it's better than just getting evasion, right? Like you just slap on a Grace Aura or wear evasion bases and go evasion suppression. And then that would be better protection because it's more consistent. In addition, less skill points. So TLDR is I'm not sure that block is better than evasion suppression right now, but it is better than before. So there's that. So yeah, that's it for block and Glad. Interesting rework. I don't know if it'll be like really good, but I do think it'll be like League Star. I do think there will probably be some Glad League Starter that will be very viable. And like one of my build ideas for a League Starter is Lacerate Glad, which the main idea here is that, well, I'll get into this later, but yeah, I have some ideas for a Glad League Starter. So interesting rework. And then second reworked ascendancy was Warden. Raider got renamed to Warden. And this is kind of a weird ascendancy to me. There's a lot of stuff here, but it's all kind of weird. There's a lot of offense, but there's very little defense. And I'm not sure that the offense that this provides is better than like other options. Like this Scorch node gives you a lot of minus, but a lot of attack-based builds, as someone in my chat pointed out, use the invert enemy res node. So this is like good, but it's like not that good. It's like not that efficient, but it is good. And then the Avatar of the Wilds is interesting. If you can somehow find a way to inflict a lot of ailments, like double hitting with Lightning Strike, Trinity or something, maybe you could have really good uptime on this, but you'd have to test it out to be sure. And then Oath of Spring is also interesting. It makes the shock a lot worse for mapping, but like on single target, if you can hit a lot, like if you can hit an enemy 25 times with Lightning Strike, for instance, you could in theory gain a lot of damage buff, but you would have to do a lot of hits to make this like better than normal shock, I feel. So it's like a good node, but you'd have to build very specifically to get this. Or maybe you can play like Galvanic Arrow or something else that has a really high attack speed. I don't know. Does Galvanic Arrow even have a high attack speed? I have no idea. Don't quote me on that one. And then the other stuff here is tincture stuff. I'm not sure how good I feel about this tincture stuff. The main thing that stood out to me with the tincture change is that it drains your mana. So like every tincture now, previously you could just like turn it on with a right click and it just always be on, like a perma flask. But now it inflicts you with mana burn, which makes your mana go down. So like in the teaser or in the content reveal, you saw that when the player activated the tincture, their mana quickly went down to 0. So it's like a short-term buff. And there's like some ways to get around that. Like Warden has this node here, which kind of gets around the issue. But overall, I'm not too sure why this is a thing. It just seems very annoying to me that you activate a tincture and your mana goes away, especially that they increase the mana cost of a lot of skills, especially attacks. So I'm not sold on the whole tincture stuff, but maybe it'll be good. I don't know, it's possible, but you'd have to test it out. And then the last note here is some bark skin stuff. I feel like bark skin was never good. I mean, some people say it's good, but I've never used it. It seems like very expensive reservation, and the protection that it provides is very conditional. And I'm personally not a fan of this. Like, I would never take this and be like, wow, my character is like so defensible because I have bark skin. Like, I would never feel that way. But I don't know, maybe it's good. I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't use it though. Like, it could be good as like a little extra defensive layer, like a cherry on top kind of defensive layer, but definitely not like a primary defensive layer. Yeah. So yeah, long story short, a lot of interesting niche offensive nodes, but not much in the way of defense. I feel that the ascendancy is maybe a little bit weak overall, but who knows? Maybe it'll be really good. Still need the PoE update to come out so people can like test out things numerically and also in game, because something like Avatar of the Wilds, I feel like it'd be very difficult to test this out or like to know what it does without playing it in the game. So there's that. Okay, moving on, we have Kalguuran Implicits. This is something that they revealed some of it, but not all. And I'm also not too sure how it works. So basically, you can craft Kalguuran Implicits on your weapons, like trigger a socketed fire spell and hit, and gain like 30 to 50 weapon physical damage as extra elemental. I don't know if these can go on any weapon, or if this one can only go on an axe and this one can only go on, or sorry, this one can only go on a mace and this one only on an axe. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, like with regards to what, like, can you put any crafting thing on any base item? I don't know, not too sure about that one, but these seem pretty good. These seem pretty strong. Like, I mean, this one is just totally broken for any fizz conversion build, assuming that you can get it on a good base. And then this one's also interesting. The main things I thought of were like, what if you could use Crown of Eyes and get attack damage and spell damage scaling together, and then get a six linked fire spell like Firestorm, and then you could trigger Firestorm like 4 times a second in addition to like scaling the damage of some attack skill. I thought that was like kind of interesting, but would need to do some theory crafting and PoE to be sure that it's good. It's an idea. You can also just use it on like some Ignite build to proc Flame Surge or whatever. There's like a bunch of different ways that you could use this. But yeah, pretty interesting, but it also will depend on like what base that it can go on. Yeah. And that's basically it for that. Hopefully we get to like see more of these, because these are cool. Or like get some more clarification as to like, can you put these implicits on any weapon type? But yeah. Okay, moving on to Bonezone. Yes, I have an entire section for Bonezone. As you guys know, I really like boneshatter. I played a lot of boneshatter. I played it like every league for the last like many leagues. I made a lot of videos on boneshatter, but I think boneshatter is dead. This is my opinion. You know, but apparently other people say it's okay, but I really think it's dead. And basically, boneshatter is a build that was like very reliant on the totems, and I think the damage compensation that it got is not enough to justify the removal of the totems. So here you can see that boneshatter, the damage effectiveness went from 250 to 338, which is like, what is this? This is like 100, like what is this? I don't even know how much of an increase that is. This is like a 130% increase, roughly. Yeah, it's like a 130% increase. But Ancestral Protector gives you like 20% more attack speed, and then the War Chief gave you 18% more damage, in addition to Val War Chief, which gave you burst damage. And then also the Ancestral Protector gave you more trauma stacks because it was a way to scale more attack speed, which is a very difficult stat to scale. So basically, I think that just numerically speaking, the removal of the totems lost you damage overall for boneshatter, and the damage compensation to the gem is not enough. And then losing Ancestral Protector means that you have less trauma stacks, which is less damage. And in addition, the skill costs more mana now. 5 at all gem levels to 12. So like 12 mana, that's like over double the mana cost, which is completely unhinged. And the only way to make that mana cost go down is to take mana wheels now. So you would probably have to take like this node for melee, reduced mana cost of attacks, and then maybe this one here as well, which is, where is that? There's another one somewhere around here that's like reduced mana cost for attacks. Can't remember where it was. This one here. So like whatever points you don't have to spend to take Panopticon, you have to put them into reduced mana cost of attacks. This is something that I'm not really too fond of. Like, I don't understand what was the point of creating a problem and then solving it, you know? Like, I think melee mana costs were already very high because melee has to manage accuracy, you have to be in melee range, and like now melee players are additionally punished because they have to worry about extremely high mana costs, like over 2 times of what they were before. 2 times. And then so like whatever points you save on Panopticon and totem stuff, you have to sink right back into reducing your mana cost, which is solving a problem that they newly created, which I don't understand this design philosophy at all. Like, what's the point of this? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah. And then you also lost strike range on Boneshatter as well, in addition, which is just pointless. I don't know what's the point of this. I think it was fine. But yeah, and then Slayer Boneshatter I think is especially dead because they changed Val Pact, and Val Pact no longer gives you like double the amount of leech. Rather, it just makes it instant for 1 point while disabling all your other life recovery. This is also a little suspect because I worry that this may also like make your flask not work, because the wording on life flasks are like, it's recover. Like life flasks read recovers X amount of health per second or whatever. So like, I don't know if this will disable life flasks or not, but even if it doesn't, it's still a bit sus. Because like one reason that Slayer was good was because you get like 4k leech, and 4k leech with like 10% of that being instant was really good for trauma sustain. But now you can no longer get 4k leech because Val Pact does not give you more leech anymore. So now you're just sitting at 2k leech on a Slayer. And I don't know if 2k leech per second is like enough for Bonezone even if it's instant. I just don't know if it's numerically going to be enough in any case for like any build. So I don't know about that. And then Jug Bonezone, Jug Boneshatter is, you know, a little bit different. You obviously would not take Val Pact for that because that would disable your regen. The main change for Jug in this case is Unbreakable no longer applies to elemental damage. Instead, it applies to chaos damage, which is a nerf. However, endurance charges now give you less elemental damage taken. So with Boneshatter Jug, for instance, normally you'd get like 3 to 4 endurance charges. So that's like minus 16 LA damage taken. I think it's worse than Unbreakable still, especially for mapping. So I don't know about that. It's just different than before. But yeah, overall, I think that Boneshatter, like mechanically, is like not very good anymore. And I don't really know. I don't really know if it would be worth playing next league. It just seems like you're just punished a lot on the damage side, mana cost. You know, Slayer is Jug seems and then less strike range. I just don't know if Boneshatter would be like the best skill to play in next league. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely weird. You know, very, very sad. I definitely will not be playing Boneshatter next league. That is for sure. Yeah, very sad about that. Moving on to, I think I should probably talk about meta last. Let's go talk about melee next since we're on the topic of melee. So, as you guys know, the biggest change, the most memorable change is that melee totems have been completely removed from the game. You can no longer get these totems at all. That's War Chief, Protector, and Earthbreaker is gone. And then some damage was moved to gems. But the way that they moved the damage to gems is that they increased the base, they increased like the base values on the gems themselves. So, for example, like Lightning Strike, fuck. Okay, so like, the main effect, if you like add them together, Protector and War Chief, Protector is 20% more attack speed, and then War Chief is 18% more damage. So if you multiply them together, it comes out to be something like 1.4, roughly 1.4 times more damage if you have the totems, and that's not including like whatever damage buff you would gain from Panopticon. So they basically went through all the melee skills and they increased the effectiveness of base and added damage of those skills, and that's the way that they compensated. And then they also increased the mana cost for no reason, because they must have been like, oh shit, these melee players now have so many free points now that they don't have to take Panopticon. Let's punish them by increasing the mana cost and then forcing them to spend more resources to make it go down. Yeah, I'm obviously salty about this, but yeah. And this is kind of an interesting way to rebalance melee. The most notable thing here is that ailment melee got buffed more than hit-based melee compared to last league, because most of these values seem to be based around hit-based melee. The damage from the totems goes away, but the, effectiveness of damage goes up. But it's a little bit different for ailment melee. For example, if you had a build like, let's say, Lacerate Glad, right? Lacerate Glad does not benefit from War Chief at all, because bleed is not scaled by more melee damage. So if you were to play any of these melee skills with an ailment, it would be proportionally stronger compared to last league than playing hit-based would be compared to last league. In addition, if your ailment melee build does not need attack speed, for example, Ice Crash Ignite, then you basically gained a bunch of damage for free. So if we take a look at Ice Crash, for example, this is probably one of the biggest buffs ever. I don't know if it'll be good, but it's like very notable. Where is that? So basically, they rebalance the damage of Ice Crash as if you were hit-based, right? So like you lose the attack speed from Protector and you lose the damage from War Chief, but you go from 250 to like, you go from like 350 to 611%, which is already numerically better than the totems. However, if you were playing ailment Ice Crash, for example, Ignite Ice Crash, that build does not need Protector or War Chief, right? Because it's like one attack only and it's a big fire damage over time. So compared to last league, Ignite Ice Crash has like a little bit under double damage compared to last league, which is pretty substantial. I don't know how good Ignite Ice Crash is, but like doubling the damage of a skill like this is definitely notable. So I don't know, maybe Ignite Ice Crash will be good, but the main idea is that ailment melee compared to previous leagues is buffed proportionally more than hit-based melee, which is interesting. And that's another reason I want to play, like a Lacerate Glad League starter. So there's that. And then there's the new rage mechanic as well. This is a little bit different than before. Wow, there's a lot of rage stuff in here. Rage rework. Yeah, so this is a little bit different than before. Basically, the TLDR is that rage now grants 1% more attack damage per rage, and you get it faster, but you also lose it faster. So if you have a fast hitting attack build, you can benefit a lot from this. But if you have a slow hitting attack build, then you're not going to benefit very much, because you lose 10 rage every 1 second if you have not been hit or gained rage in the last 2 seconds. So this is like really good for fast hitting attack skills, but like for slower ones, like two-handed attack builds, I'm not sure it'll be very good. So I don't know, maybe someone can theory craft like some fast hitting attack build and then make use of the new rage mechanic. It's just very different from before, so there's that. Oh, and then call to arms. Oh my gosh. This change was totally toxic. So you guys remember like last league when they removed the ability to automate war cries on left mouse button, which is a cringe change in my opinion. And now it's even more cringe because in order removing that, like they gave us call to arms, which allowed us to like use automated war cries. However, the cost was an extra gem socket. But now they like removed call to arms as well, because now you have to pay 15% mana reservation per war cry, which is crazy. Who's gonna pay 15% mana reservation for a war cry? That's so crazy. I don't know. This change is like insane to me, because reservation is already very difficult to get, and you have to like take a lot of travel nodes to path to the mana reservation wheels, and every point in mana reservation is only like 6%, 7%, 8% increased reservation efficiency. And like in addition, like melee skills cost more mana now. So I don't know, the idea of like reserving 15% mana, which is like more than a banner, just to like automate a war cry is like insane to me. And it makes it completely unusable for like automating many war cries, because you're not going to reserve like 75% mana to activate 5 war cries, right? So yeah, I don't know. This change is a little questionable. I don't like this change. I don't know. It's just like, if you're playing boneshatter, like how are you going to get like extra mana reservation for, you know, ancestral cry? You would probably just not even use it. Or, you know, righteous fire using enduring cry or infernal cry, which also got nerfed. I don't know. This is like a crazy change to me. I don't know why they would do this to call to arms. But yeah, call to arms kind of sucks now. Unless you have randomly 15% reservation lying around in your build, I guess. And then yeah, the mana change, which I talked about already. This cringe. I don't know. Like doubling the mana cost of boneshatter from 5 to 12 is just insanity. Although the silver lining, I guess, is that the new mana wheels for minus mana cost, apparently they have mana masteries on them. I don't know if this is truth or not. We'll have to wait until the PoE comes out. But in PoE Planner, which is generally pretty reliable, you can see that there is a mana mastery. There is a mana mastery in each of these reduced mana cost wheels. So these are generally pretty good. You have reduced mana cost of attacks. You have reservation efficiency. A lot of good masteries here. So I guess we have like a little bit of something to compensate there. And then you have this one here as well, which is very conveniently located here. So yeah, there's that. So those are basically the main changes for melee. Oh, and then also Champ got nerfed. That's another one that's kind of cringe. Basically, Champion lost 5 fortification, which is just crazy and random and unnecessary in my opinion. They also lost 500 armor evasion. In addition to the nerfs of Determination and Grace, they lost 20% attack speed, and they lost Defiance Banner, because Defiance Banner is now different now. You can see here, it's just different. It no longer gives you armor and evasion. It gives you movement speed and suppression, which is bizarre. So Champion is like giga nerfed now. I can't imagine never playing a Champion again in this state. So yeah. Overall, melee is different. It's interesting. There's some things that are different, some that are better, some that are worse. But the meta right now, in my opinion, is very up in the air. Like everyone seems to have different ideas as to like what melee builds could be good. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait until the dust settles and the meta gets figured out a bit more. But it does definitely seem that boneshatter is no longer the obvious premium melee skill. But I don't know what new melee skill will rise from the ashes. That's really cringe. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. Nobody knows what's the good melee skill now. But I think Lacerate Glad has promise. And then defense, yeah, as I mentioned before, as you guys probably know, Determination and Grace got nerfed. Determination lost 1,000 armor at level 20. And then Grace, same thing. Grace lost 1,000 evasion. However, the new armor bases do have more numbers on them to compensate. I don't know if they showed any of them here, but the new armors have more defensive values, more armor, more evasion, more energy shield. I don't know where that is, but yeah. So overall, they're trying to push players away from using these auras and like into using like gear instead. But I don't know, it's like a big nerf, like minus 1k. I don't know. We'll have to see how the numbers come out like overall, but I do think it's like an overall nerf, like a little bit. And I also think this kind of maybe unfairly penalizes builds that like would not normally use those bases. Like for example, if I was playing like some weird off-meta witch character and I was life-based and I needed some way to get physical damage reduction, normally you just put on Determination, Defiance, Grace. But now that's like a lot worse. And you know, you're not going to wear heavy strength armor as a witch. So where is the armor going to come from? I don't know. So yeah, the defenses have definitely been shaked up a little bit. The defensive meta, I don't really know what to do now. And then also they removed Gravicius mod, which is also crazy. They basically removed a lot of ways to get physical taken as. So like Gravicius is just totally dead now. Like who cares about banner aura effect? Oh, I forgot to talk about banners. Yeah, basically banners no longer have reservation. You just have to place them down like a melee totem V2, but the effects are a lot worse than before. So I probably will just not even use a banner, even though there's some pretty good banner masteries. I don't know, maybe one of the banner masteries will be good. I don't know, but like they nerfed the banners a lot. Like Dread Banner no longer gives impale chance. Now it gives block attack damage, which is like, why? So Dread Banner no longer gives impale. War Banner no longer gives you increased physical damage taken to enemies. It gives you 4% more damage with melee skills now. And then Defiance is just a meme. You know, movement speed suppressed. So the banners were nerfed, but some of the new banner masteries are kind of interesting. Like you can see here, banners cause enemies to take 8% increased damage. I don't know, but I'll probably just be avoiding banners because I think they're not that good anymore, and I can't imagine wanting to place another melee totem V2. So yeah, but anyway, defense. Yeah, Gravicius mod got removed. Much harder to get Fizz taken as now. In addition, Taste of Hate was also nerfed. Taste of Hate no longer grants Fizz taken as cold. Instead, it's Fire and Lightning taken as cold. So Taste of Hate seems pretty dead as well. They just removed a lot of these kind of taken as mods, which is annoying. However, Lightning Coil was not touched, so I guess Lightning Coil is now just going to be like giga meta. Like now that they nerfed Determination, I feel that for PDR on any build that's not like super giga armor strength is like you're just going to have to use Lightning Coil. Like that's it. Like all you got is Lightning Coil for PDR. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about this change, but that's how it is now, I guess. You know, in terms of PDR. Yeah, it's just either get a huge ES pool, get heavy armor bases, or Lightning Coil, because getting taken as is very difficult now. Or I guess you could play Chaos Conversion, Chaos damage taken as conversion with Divine Flesh, with the new Juggernaut shit, which is, I don't even know, but it's very difficult to get. I don't know. I feel like the defensive shakeup is really interesting. Like, yeah, like the way that you would have to build defense now is very different from before. You have to like think very carefully about what defensive layers that your build is going to have. Or you just play a build called Archmage Ice Nova, which was not nerfed in the slightest, which is crazy. This build was so overpowered. It was so meta. Or you just play that build. There's no nerfs to this build. Frostbolt, no changes. Ice Nova, no changes. Mind over Matter, no changes. Hierophant, no changes. Archmage, no changes. So I personally cannot believe that this build was not nerfed. It was so overpowered. The build had insane clear speed, 15k EHP, triple sustain from life leech, from mana regen, and also from life regeneration. So you had 3 ways of sustaining. You had like 6k recovery per second, 15k EHP pool, 100% spell suppression with PDR from endurance charges due to hero. And it actually got buffed because endurance charges now give you reduced elemental damage taken as well. So if you're picking Hierophant, you have now negative 16 physical and elemental damage taken. So Archmage Ice Nova actually got buffed on top of 100% spell suppression, which is unhinged. So, you know, while defenses, you know, you may have to like worry about these a little bit more next league, you could also just play Archmage Ice Nova and get infinite defense for free and also offense. So I'll definitely be playing that build. It seems just too good to be true that a build like that, that's SSF viable, got untouched, a little unhinged. But yeah, there's that. And then DD. I think DD got nerfed a little bit. I've never played DD, so I can't say for sure, but it's my understanding that Desecrate got hit a little bit. Desecrate got hit a little bit in terms of the scaling of corpse level, and also there was another change where like corpses, something about corpses and like map modifiers. Yeah, player spawn corpses are no longer affected by modifiers on maps. So it's like a couple of things that DD got nerfed with, but I think DD should still probably be pretty viable. I would assume so. But yeah. What else for meta? Oh yeah, no more Magic Find meta. Like, I'm so glad they did this, honestly. They basically removed Quant completely. So like, yeah. So they basically removed all sources of increased Quant. So the Magic Find meta is basically completely dead. There's no longer any reason to do Magic Find because, I mean, without Quant, all you have is Rarity, which is just not very good because a lot of mechanics already give you like base intrinsic increased Rarity. So yeah, I'm pretty glad about this personally because I didn't like putting on Magic Find gear. I wanted to play real characters instead, but I always felt FOMO because of, you know, if I'm not Magic Finding, I'm not getting the optimal loot. But now you can get optimal loot without Magic Finding, so this is a good change in my opinion. Because like if this change did not happen, I would probably like reroll a third build as Magic Find or something just so I could farm. But yeah, very happy about this change. In other I don't even know what I'm saying. But yeah, looking at the meta again here, this is SSF Necropolis meta. Yeah, you can see that the top played skill is Ice Nova or Frostbolts for good reason. It was so overpowered. And this is untouched completely. Makes no sense. So yeah, I would definitely recommend playing this build if you want a powerful build. It is meta, but it's really good and it's a lot of fun and I have no shame playing it. So yeah, there's that. And then, oh, Regis Fire. I mean, if you want to see what happened to Regis Fire, you can just watch Pox, but it got nerfed a little bit. What happened to Regis Fire? The main things I think are that Infernal Cry got removed. Well, in terms of Regis Fire, this no longer gives you like a cover in Ash thing. So it's very difficult for Regis Fire builds to cover enemies in Ash. And then also the burning modifier got removed on suffixes. So it has like a little bit more damage loss. So yeah, I think Righteous Fire lost a little bit of stuff. But then you also do get a lot more life on your gear. But I think overall Righteous Fire is nerfed a little bit. The biggest offender being the removal of the cover of Ash from Infernal Cry. So yeah, but I think it'll still be playable, just not exceptional. Like, I don't think Righteous Fire is... I mean, you can play it for sure, but it'll be kind of low damage. It'll definitely be low damage. And, yeah, I don't know. I probably won't be playing it next league. Doesn't seem very exciting. Oh, and they also removed the... well, they also changed... what do you call it? The Delve node in maps. Packed with energy. So, like, what I was doing last league, which is kind of corny, is that I was building a Righteous Fire Chieftain character around 87 max res. And this was super optimal because you could save so many skill points if you built around 87 max res. And then you basically only map with the character, and then you click Pack with Energy, and then it gives you 87 to 90 all res. So you can like build a Righteous Fire character like that, but now you can probably no longer do that because, you know, the thing only lasts like 60 seconds now. So it's like not permanent. You know, I probably wouldn't do it this league. In addition, like, you know, this nerf is like a indirect T17 nerf because you can no longer abuse T17s with Packed with Energy. Is it still going to be good? Probably. I'm probably still going to take it. It's just like free power. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll take it. I don't know. Lasting only 60 seconds is a little cringe. I'm sure it's still good on like the right map, but I don't know. But yeah, Righteous Fire got nerfed a little bit, I think, but still playable if you really want to. Lightning Arrow, I think Lightning Arrow got a little bit of a buff. Lightning Arrow, what happened to Lightning Arrow? I haven't looked this one up in detail. Oh yeah, a little bit of a buff. Like 1 less mana cost and a little bit more damage. So that's great. I'm personally not a fan of Lightning Arrow because it feels too squishy and low damage in the end game, but apparently some people play it really well, but it's not my playstyle personally. But I'm sure it'll still be very good, especially if you like bow builds. And then Fire Trap is part of Righteous Fire. Explosive Arrow has always felt clunky to me, but good at bosses. Explosive Arrow, I think, is unchanged. Oh, a little bit of a... Oh yeah, unchanged. So Explosive Arrow will still be good if you can stomach the totem playstyle. Or I guess if you need like an uber boss killer, Explosive Arrow is pretty good at that. So that's still fine. Elemental Hit, I know nothing about that. And then anything below this is just, I don't know anything about this. Artillery Ballista, I have no idea about that. I've never played it. Splitting Steel, I personally would not play this unless you had a Nimbus. Otherwise, you're just missing out on so much damage. It'll feel really bad. Not a fan of Splitting Steel ever since Nimbus is like... What happened to Nimbus? I don't even remember. They made Nimbus like inaccessible or something in some way. I have no idea what happened. I just remember thinking that ever since last patch, I would never ever drop a Nimbus again. I can't remember what exactly the change was though. Maybe someone can enlighten me. But yeah, I wouldn't play this without a Nimbus. And then Boneshatter, yeah, we talked about Boneshatter. I definitely would not play Boneshatter next league. And then everything below this is very niche, like Hex Blast. I don't even know anything about this shit anymore. Everything below this is just whatever. So yeah, basically, Ice Nova of Frostbolts, I think it's actually pretty bad for the game that a build like Ice Nova of Frostbolts Archmage exists. It's just so much more powerful than anything else. Like, I would say the survivability, like, okay, if you compare Ice Nova of Frostbolts to like any of these builds, like any of the next 10 builds, Ice Nova of Frostbolts has like 2 to 3 times the survivability, like 2 to 3 times the damage, and it clears at the same speed, more or less, when you have Kitavas Thirst. So I think it's pretty unhealthy that a build like that exists in the meta. I think other builds should be buffed up to that level, or Ice Nova Frostbolts should be nerfed. I don't know. But if it's in the game, I'm gonna play it. I like being able to kill Uber bosses and T17s, so I'll probably play it. But yeah, that's that. And then I guess finally moving on to build ideas, I've been floating around the idea of a lacerate glad starter, to replace the gaping hole. Wording. Gaping. All right, let's move on from the gaping. Wait, okay. You know what I'm saying. No more boneshatter leaves a void in my heart is what I meant to say here. So yeah, to replace the void that boneshatter left in my heart, I've decided to replace it with another mega skill, which I kind of liked playing in the past, lacerate glad. Again, unless before the PoB comes out, I think it's impossible to say whether it'll be really good. I definitely need the PoB numbers to come out first before I can, I need the PoB update to drop first before I can say for sure if I want to play this. But it looks very promising. You don't need Ancestral Protector anymore. Lacerate got some pretty substantial damage buffs. You can see that here. Lacerate has the effectiveness of damage went up from 154 to 393, which is more than double. It's almost triple. It's somewhere between double and triple the damage, which is a lot. And the only downside is the mana cost went up. But I mean, I guess you just have to find a way to make it go down, probably by taking mana cost nodes in the tree. But that's a lot of damage buff, 154 to 393. So that's very appealing. And the Glad rework is cool as well. In addition, Lacerate has flat damage built into the gem. So, gem Lacerate. You can see that this gem, it has a naturally scaling 75 to 113 added damage. So even if your League Start weapon is bad, you're still gonna get some damage just by leveling up, kind of like boneshatter. So it's pretty good. And I also think that Lacerate Glad as a League starter can never be bad because of the node here, which gives you up to 100% more damage with hits and ailments for every second that you've been in a fight. So again, the main idea is your League starter will probably have low damage or less damage than your second build. And if your build has low damage, this node is going to give you more damage. So it's a compensating factor for struggling. So you can basically never struggle on Lacerate Glad because of this node. There's no way that the buffed Lacerate with 100% more damage is bad. So even if it takes you a minute to kill a boss or something, you're going to be fine because you're going to be able to kill it eventually. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's definitely pretty interesting. So yeah, I think there's a lot of cool mechanics in Glad now. If I were to build Lacerate Glad, I would do it I built a PoB somewhere, but I don't want to show it because it's just very tentative stuff. And I can't say for sure whether or not it's even good until Path of Building comes out. But hypothetically, let's say, yeah. So obviously you would take this for the damage. You would definitely take this for the bleed explode. 20% explode is crazy. And then, I think personally you would do this. This is 50% more base block, which is just good. If you have a 25 shield, this is just 25% block, which I think is pretty reasonable. And I would personally play this with one-handed axe and a shield. I don't know if that's optimal. You could also try to do dual wielding. You could try to do dual wielding. I've seen some ideas where you dual wield a Soul Taker and a DPS weapon. Again, need PoB before you can say that anything is good for sure. But that's an idea. You could dual wield a Soul Taker and a DPS weapon. Soul Taker fixes your mana cost, I think. And then that would give you like 40% block and 20% more attack speed. So that's an idea. You could also just do one-handed Siege Axe with the Strength Shield. And the Strength Shield can like give you ailment, immunity, and armor and stuff, and life. Because this build desperately needs life. And then this is like 25% base block chance. And then this node, Weapon Master, is also kind of cool. If you're doing like an axe build, this is like 15% more damage, just like overall. 30% more if they're on low life, 15 just like overall. And then there's also memes with Varanastra as well. You could maybe do like Varanastra Soul Taker or like Varanastra Siege Axe, and then you would get all these bonuses as well. Kind of interesting, definitely kind of interesting. But the stats on Varanastra are kind of bad. So again, you would definitely need to PoE this to make sure that you have the optimal combo. There's a lot of like interesting things you can do with Glad, but yeah, I need PoE. Long story short, need PoE. Yeah. But this is the general idea of like my Lacerate Glad League starter. I think the damage will be there. Yeah, I think it'll be viable. The only bad thing is that Gratuitous Violence lost 20% more damage with bleeding, but like you got another damage node here, which gives you more than 20% more damage in a boss fight. So yeah. I'm also curious if you can do like portal cheeses with this. Like, could you, in theory, like portal out into a boss arena and then like portal back in and just like stand there for a whole minute and ramp like 60% more damage? Like, would that work? I don't know. But yeah, you'd have to try that out for sure. So yeah, that's probably going to be my League starter, Lacerate Glad in some variant. I just think it'll be fun. It'll also be very cool to play Lacerate again. Haven't played that build in a long time, since Heist League, which was way back when, like 3.15 or something. I don't even know. So yeah, this is my idea for a League starter. Unless something else super crazy comes up, but I think I'm going to play this. And then second build that I'm going to play will probably be, not probably, it'll definitely be Ice Nova. It's just the amount of stuff that you can farm with a build as broken as this is insane. Like, you can juice so hard with this build. In my opinion, if you want power, you'd be insane to not play this build unless somebody comes up with like some next level shit. It's just so good, you know. But if you're not a meta picker, I respect that. But I'm gonna shamelessly play it. I played the build last league. It was great. I'll play it again. You know, I like the build. The only reason I'm not league starting this is that, three reasons. First of all, I think like playing Lacerate Glad as a starter is cool. Like, I'm always interested in exploring like different options for league starters. Second of all, I don't like playing this build without Kitavas Thirst. Like, I feel that without Kitavas Thirst, it's just very awkward to automate the casting of Frostbolt. Like, you can self-cast it, you can throw out the brand and then cast it from the brand, but like, I personally really did not enjoy playing this build unless you had Kitavas Thirst. So yeah. And then also the idea of like being stuck in lab for hours trying to get Ice Nova or Frostbolts, like on the first day of the league, is just kind of cringe. Like, I don't want to do lab 30 times on the first day, you know? Like, I want to be in maps. So yeah. I will probably league start Lacerate Glad, assuming that the numbers are good, and then use that build to farm some basic gear for Frostbolt, or for Ice Nova or Frostbolts, including Kitavas Thirst. And also I'll run a bunch of lab with a Lacerate Glad as well, and try to get that Ice Nova of Frostbolts gem, and hopefully the Frost Blink of Wintry Blast as well. And then I'll just farm a bunch on that build, and then maybe do some interesting third build if we get there. Ice Crash Ignite seems promising, but I don't know. I've always wanted to play some kind of like ailment slam build that was good, but I've never been able to play an ailment slam build that was truly good. So maybe that's like on the table for theory crafting. Other than that, I don't know. there is a part of me that kind of wishes that there was more like new skills or like reworked skills. I feel like that's one thing this patch note is kind of lacking, that there's no new skills except for retaliation skills, which is definitely very niche. Like, I don't know why the only new skills are retaliation when very, very few players actually played with like counter-attacking based builds. So I don't know. It seems like a lot of work on a very niche kind of gameplay style. So I was kind of hoping for more new skills or like reworks of old skills, but I don't know. I kind of wish that the meta would be more different, but the melee change is big. So maybe some new build will rise up from the ashes and be really good again. Who knows? But yeah. Okay, that's basically it for me. Overall, positive impression. The new mechanic seems fun. There is some interesting new mechanics that I definitely want to try out. My league start plan is probably going to be lacerate Glad into Ice Nova or Frostbolt's Archmage Hero into something else. I'll probably make some more videos like in between now and the start of the league. I don't know if I don't know if I'm gonna do any practice runs, but like I may do some more streams on Twitch or like some more videos like theory crafting random shit, maybe. But yeah, other than that, I will be streaming the league start on Twitch. Hopefully, can make some good progress there if you want to catch that. That's about it. Let me know your thoughts or whatever for league starters or interactions that you think could be good. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching the video. Yes, under 1 hour. Yes, okay. All right. What do I say for an outro? Smokey out. That was so lame. I missed the button.